All right, I'm the last one. Hello, everyone. My name is Amir from Unbody. We are a small startup based in Netherlands, Amsterdam. I came here for a STEP conference. We had a booth and talk, and then I saw AI Tinkerer is happening in Abu Dhabi, so I talked to Muhammad, and what a great opportunity to join. I'm also one of the initial general members of AI Tinkerers. So I love the community. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Unbody, where we basically make AI development easier and more accessible for guys coming from non-AI and machine learning backgrounds. I'm talking about front-end developers, back-end developers, mobile, React developers, and as such, because we see a huge gap between how AI is advancing every day and the number of applications we see in real world, in day-to-day job that powered by AI are really not much. And we believe that this gap is because that not enough people, not enough developers have access to this technology. Quickly, I'm going to just show one slide, which is this one, to show you what Unbody does. Unbody, you can think of it as a new kind of a backend, a new way of building applications that relies on something that we call it knowledge base. So we got rid of the notion of database and replace it with something that we say knowledge base. You can imagine knowledge base as a basically second brain or kind of the neural network of a database. As opposed to relational databases, you have to go and connect things together, define different fields, and say this is relevant to that, this is relevant to this. But then in a knowledge base, with Unbody, you just throw raw data at it, no matter what it is, from MySQL database to MongoDB to Amazon S3 bucket to Notion, Google Drive, videos, audio, images, anything. You just throw your data at it, Unbody take care of the rest and gives you a knowledge base. And on top of that, now you can start building chatbot, semantic search, recommendation engine, name it, visual similarity search, video enhancement pipelines, etc., etc. But today talk is going to be only focused on one particular thing. Do you see this? Is this big enough? So, as I also explained in my brief in the talk, I'm going to today talk about Agentic RAG. Okay, now who does know what RAG stands for? Okay, good. I'm going to ask questions. You sure? Okay, who does know what RAG is? Perfect. Good. No, I'm not going to ask a question. And pizza is here, so I'm going to wrap it up soon. So I'm not standing between you and the food. Don't hate me. Cool. So RAG, for those who don't know, it stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, right? It's basically two things combined together. Retrieval, which is search. You need to search something, retrieve something from the database, grab it, and then give it as augmented information combined with the prompt as a context to a model and ask for generated. That's why the second part, augmented generation. That's it. As simple as that. You can think of it as ChatGPT on top of a specific data sets, right? Not a big deal. But the agentic RAG is something that has two major differences, fundamental differences. Agentic RAG, first of all, understands the user intention, right? The user query, because the user query is not, hey, show me the pizzas. User goes, hey, I live in Amsterdam, show me the pizzas who are 200 grams and don't have sausage, and how I can make it. You see, this is all. And if you want to, as a developer, translate this into a database query, you have a hell of a job. It's not as simple. So the agentic RAG understands this, can process this into a proper database query. That's the first thing. The second part of the agentic RAG is that I always say agents are not automations. Agents without agency is not an agent. Agents is something that can decide and act on your behalf. So it can go and order you a pizza. That's when you can call it agentic RAG, if you want to. But when it comes to RAG, it's more about the first part, agentic understanding the user intentions. And that's what I wanted to show you. What I'm going to show you is a product developed by one of our customers using our technology. What they have done, they have basically a list of all the therapists, mental health care providers all over the Netherlands, about 80,000 of therapists. So they built this from ground up based on the database that they have. They had a very simple database, name of the therapist and a few fields. And they wanted to make these AI native applications that patients go there and say, find the right therapist, all right? You were talking about shyness when in public speaking, right? Let's try that. So I can go here, and by the way, the default language is in Dutch, but don't worry, I'm gonna try English. And again, when you talk about AI native applications, they are not bound to a language. They automatically and dynamically switch languages without saying. It understands my intent as a user. So now I'm gonna start typing in English and say, I'm a tech founder, right? Dealing with, I don't know, being shy at public speaking, right? Living in Amsterdam, find me someone. Whatever, right? Pretty complex query I'm giving it. So this is the agentic RAG part, understanding the question, understanding the intention that I have mean. And now the RAG starts. Search our database, basically find the most relevant therapists for me, explain why all these, what's the result of the entire, this 80,000 that I searched for, and why I'm showing all these, like a few top candidates. Or even you can say, for example, why are you showing particularly, I don't know, let's say this person. Then it's gonna reason for you. That's the autonomy comes in place again. And again, it explains it to me based on the questions that I ask. It also consider I said I'm a tech founder, etc. Now I can go to this particular person profile, and you see this entire profile that is generated. So each therapist is not just a simple data in a SQL database or a table database. This therapist has a CV, has a social media, has a website, has a lot of videos that has talked about, blog posts, etc. They also define all of those in the database, but as a static. They just said Unbody, hey, this is the URL of their website. This is the URL of the YouTube. Everything else that you see here, Unbody basically generated for them. It goes and understands the semantic between these. So it creates a second brain of this person for them. So now that's why I can go here and even suggest me. For example, what is the registration process to become a client of Jesse? Or even more personal, how Jesse can help me with public speaking anxiety, right? Or for example, I don't know, what does she offer online session in public speaking? Why? Because I said I'm a co-founder, probably I'm busy to go to the office, so you understand online suggestion. And now I can continue my chat with her in that sense. So it's all about the intention of the user, and that part is always kind of misunderstood or completely ignored when we are starting developing. And that's why you don't see much of RAG in the real world, because there are many little tweaks and details that we tend to just ignore it, because we are always just doing AI for sake of AI, for hackathons, or for like some experimentation, but nothing at the scale and at production when the user is facing. Anyhow, so this is like the demo. Now I want to tell you a magic part. This whole thing that you see here, from 0 to here, okay? From 0 to here, one front-end engineer, they are a healthcare company. They built it in 3 days. 2.5 days was the front end, half of the day was the back end. Because Unbody just provides you all of this right out of the box. You don't need to care about anything. Memory, you have it. Intention processes, you have it. Chunking, you have it. Ingestion, you have it. I don't know, a lot more. Enhancement, you have it. That's a very important part. Connection between the synapses of these data entry points. Okay, now let's get to the code. Any questions so far? Or you wanna wait for the code?
I love it so far.
Cool. The code. I wasn't lying to you. When I say it's simple, it is really simple. This is the entire line of code you need to build a RAG with Unbody. Say, hey, and oh, by the way, my demo is not about therapies, it's about just sort of some recipe food recipes, and there are like 40 entries. I didn't have time to really make a good database, so we are going to be very limited. But so you say, hey, oh, by the way, I should show you also here. So you create an instance of Unbody, Do you create a basically API key and projects using the dashboard? I'm going to skip all of those. But then at the end of the day, you want to say, hey, go grab my basically recipe collection, right? And then search about, this is the semantic search. Of course, you can go with hybrid model or even find, which is the classic search, keyword based, but now we want to do semantic search. So you say search about, and you want to select different type of fields to return because it's GraphQL-based database API, so you can select what part of the field of the data should be returned, and then generate from many. This generate from many, it combines everything that is relevant to Italian and brings it back and apply that prompt. But this is not the real world, right? The real world, you cannot hard code Italian here. You cannot how to make good pizza here, right? That's where that intention recognition come into place. The user will give you basically this Italian dish for 2% that can be ready under 30 minutes, right? So when you look at our database, we probably have duration field, we have ingredient field, we have et cetera, et cetera. So each of these needs to become a filter in the database, in the query of the database, right? So I can go here and after these say basically, from this, all I need is Italian dish, probably. Just Italian is relevant here, right? But I also need to be able to say, for example, where, right? And then say here, I don't know, under 30 minutes, so less than, right? For example, I'm not going to write here, but, and then return, then, I don't know, duration, less than 30, for example, right? That's what I want to do. But again, I don't have this number. I don't even know the duration has been asked by the user, right? So now let me go back and make, so this is, you got the idea so far, the general, right? Okay, now let's go to the real code that, oh, by the way, let's also quickly have a look at what we have. Ooh. Did I change something?
No, there's a typo in the code.
Yeah. Sorry? Oh, no, this shouldn't be here, actually. Well, that's the thing. Like, this is test demo.
Here. There are just two typos here.
No, I want to, I mean, this shouldn't be even, yeah, this is different. This is different. This is the risk. Okay, anyway. So I can go here and say Italian meals, right? Nothing really fancy. It goes find the Italian thing and probably hallucinate on its own and generate something for me in response and bring something back. Okay, this is just a demo. You saw the line of code, so we didn't do any evaluation or anything. But now, what if I want to make it a bit more advanced, like the thing that I just had in the code? Let's bring that thingy and say, only start with this one. So now the first filter is going to be applied, 2%. That is very important. Italian dish is the query, is the concept we are looking for. 2% is basically one of the criteria in the database. So it finds that if you're looking for Italian dish to serve for 2 people, you might consider making blah, blah, blah. Here's a quick recipe how you can do it. And of course, it's not RAG if it doesn't return the actual document or actual database field as well. Okay, cool. Now let's add the second part. That can be ready under 30 minutes. But again, for database that can be ready under, this whole part is gibberish. You cannot pass this to the database. Of course, a lot of people, what they do, they just take this entire query, pass it to the search, and pass it as a trump and call it a RAG. That's not a RAG. That's just playing around with RAG. And no results, because probably I didn't have enough of, yeah, let me remove this and see if it's going to work. I just made this demo this morning, so I don't know, the data is really poor. Yeah, so it understands it. But now let's go to the code. And here is how it works. Recipe search. Okay, the backend. Is the code big enough, right? So it's very important to know the database fields, right? The database structure. This is a very dummy example. It has a title, it has a text, ingredients, meal type, course type, cuisine type, season, and then allergens. Oh, what was that? Anyway, prep time minutes, cook time minutes, total time minutes, and serving, which is a number of people that it can serve, right? This is our database. But now we need to make a function that can process that query, right? For that, Unbody gives you, we are working on a full encapsulated query parser, but for now I'm showing you the code behind the scene. So this is how we implement that query parser. We have a standalone JSON generator, which is very good and fine-tuned to extract and give you evaluated JSON objects rather than text, right? So that happens a lot of time that you want to have one particular structure and you don't want to mess up with it. So for that, you need to use a generate JSON from Unbody, and then you define a role for the system that, hey, analyze the user's query and history of the query. If you are making a chat and you want to have a continuous search, of course, you need to pass around the history as well to determine the user's intent and preferences, right? Then you say user query, and that's where the magic starts to happen, that we are using Zod. Zod is a basically object evaluator JavaScript library that you can here define what type of a schema the model you want to return, right? You say, okay, I want an object that has concept. The concept is a string of arrays, and you describe it. Search terms that user is interested in. That's where this one will take Italian pizza or Italian dish out of the query. Then you want to have included ingredients. Again, an array of a string, it can be null, and describe it again, ingredients that user wants to include. So you do this step by step. You define this formula. Basically, we are building the logic of that second brain here, in a sense, to parse that query. And then, anyway, you just keep doing that, right? Once that you have that query and the results of it, you execute it, and you get the result. So now the parsed item has all those results in it, right? So now I can go and do the same exact thing here. I can say, hey, go grab the collection from recipe collection, and also additional ID that we needed later on to recognize them. Select the fields that we need to show. This is mainly front end, and you can also remove this if you don't want to have any front end. This is mainly the things that we need to build the UI with. And then search about, and then we say, it's very slow. Okay. So if the parsed object had concepts in it, and there was more than one, at least one item in it, then that means we need to search for the concept. As a fallback, we say search for the entire query. Okay. And hopefully the semantic search, which behind the scene uses a near vector search, is powerful enough to find the most relevant information. Then we auto-cut it or limit it to the top 3 results. We don't want to go off all the things that we have. And here we start building our advanced database queries. So we say, for example, if there is included ingredients, user has asked for a particular, then add it to the query. Okay. And then if they ask for excluding ingredients, also add that. You see, so we say ingredients not equal to the particular, and for each of them, and ingredients contains all. So we are combining things with the AND operation, right? So we just say if this and this and this and this, right? So we are building. Go, and we keep doing this. Or for example, if total time less than equal parse plus that tiny thing, which is always do the trick, because we don't want to go after the edge that the user has set. And then generate from many, combine these all results together, whatever you have, find the top 3, and now generate a response to user query. And now we can pass on the user query. And now the model understands and can return really solid and robust answer. And at the end, basically, you get the, this is Next.js. You don't need to look at it. Cool. I guess that was it in a way. And well, we are launched as a commercial platform last year, but the more we went through the journey, the more realized that the community and the power of community and developers, like people like yourself, that's why we decided to release Unbody fully open source. It's going to be fully open source in 25th of February, in a few days. That's why I'm also here. I'm just going around the world because I think this is a very exciting moment for us to also invite every developer, every community member to join us and try to build things. We are starting by inviting you to basically fill out this form. If you do it, we give you $500 of credits to using the cloud platform if you want to do it. Along the side, we will also ask you if you want to be contributing to our open source project. So we will follow up with you on that. So please go ahead, fill the form, and well, thank you so much. Any questions? Yes.
I had a look at the website, and you also have a video API.
Yes.
How does that work?
It's the same. So Unbody is built agnostic to type of data. So doesn't matter the data format, PDF, a spreadsheet, MongoDB object, MySQL, or video, audio, doesn't matter. So you just throw at it, Unbody compiles it because it's multimodal architecture. That's the first part of the video. The second part of the video API is that you don't need a video hosting service. So we take care of the streaming, everything. So you just put the raw data in, and we give you a fully responsive video streaming that you can just embed in a player. Can I show the AI Tinkerer demo that I showed you? We are doing a pilot. I feel bad now. Yeah. This what you see, this is a pilot we are doing with the AI Tinkerers Amsterdam, and we are gonna basically make it for all the AI Tinkerers community. Every video that you see here is being recorded. It's supposed to throughout this blog. This is great. This is another open. We have a lot of open source projects as well on top of Unbody. This is Gray. Gray is a basically blog generator. So what you see here is a blog generated out of raw footages that recording from AI Tinkerers Amsterdam. They just threw these files in a Google Drive folder, and the rest of the things is generated by Gray, powered by Unbody. So even like it goes and say, for example, create different categories, and it says, okay, create me, and it understands these three videos are related to each other. It creates a category, give it a title, etc. Or I can go also again here, start chatting and say, for example, show me creating immersive. Each of these suggestions are also basically extracted from those videos that people talked about. It goes and finds the things. Oh, this is my talk. Okay, but let's go to Locus. So this is another. Then you can go and start watching the video, and you see how fast it is. I just need to play, and boom, it's a start streaming. Again, no video server needed. So raw video in, we take care of the rest. Even the synchronization, everything is there, like the transcription, this title, this description, the metadata, even the Locus is talking in this video, none of this is given to the model, like to Unbody. It figures it out on its own, right, using the data enhancers. So everything here is generated, in fact. You can also now chat with the thing and say, for example, what did Locus said in 3 words, for example, right? Now it goes and based on that particular video, basically summarize it. So once we connect your data, next month we can go say, who did talk about shyness and public speaking, right? And your name will be appear there. So again, we are talking about like a different way of building applications. We should go beyond databases. Databases are past, my friends. Especially, I'm not talking about every use case, huh? I'm talking about purely content-driven, knowledge-driven applications. Of course, if you are making a bank, or transactional-based startup, no, of course not. Not at least now, but I believe it in 3 years, even those will be based on different type of database. But for now, let's stick with this sort of content-driven stuff. And yeah, so that's the question that was the answer to your question. Yes.
I think my question relates to that. So you said you turn data into knowledge bases. Can you say how you save the knowledge base and how you structure?
Yes, we use currently vector database and a graph-based database combination, and yeah, some secret sauce behind the scene to keep them. But the essence of knowledge building is in the hands of developers by defining enhancers. Enhancers are pipelines, like are modules that you define in your pipeline, and you say, if this comes in, the raw data comes in, and you say how to transform it.
And I have to define the structure of the graph beforehand. You're not automatically extracting this schema of the graph. Right?
Well, the graph doesn't have a structure. That's the point. The graph is a 3D space of vectors, right? So it goes and sits in the right place. But if you are talking about chunking,
lines between them.
no. Don't take the knowledge or graph as a literal. This is just how we describe it. We think of it as a vector database, vector space, that everything goes and sit in the right place, and then when the user wants them to retrieve them, they are already there or pre-computed. So for example, you want to enhance all the PDF documents with because you know your users are going to ask particular information, and you have 100 pages of PDFs and thousands of them, so you don't want to store all of them, or you want to store them, but you also want to store particular answers to particular questions. So you extract them, and you use the generative feedback loop to store it back into the database. Now it grows on its own. So that's what enhancers do. I can also, I don't know, do we have time? I can show you how enhancers work if you want. I'm sorry. Shall we have a pizza? I don't know. We can.
No, you can do that. I'm saying someone just.
Yeah, you can also have the pizzas. This is our current dashboard. Next week it will be also different. But just to show you. So when you're setting up your project, currently we have pre-built in enhancers. So for example, you can enable auto captioning, automatic image tagging, OCR, summarization, keyword extraction, name entity extraction. So everything that you want is already pre-built in. So you just hook this into the pipeline and the system does it. So this is how you are basically building the knowledge base, more or less, like a more contextual version of the database. But if you want to have more advanced stuff, then you need to do a custom enhancer. And for those, you need to use, let me see what do we have here. Enhancement, maybe this one. This would be basically like how you define an enhancement. So you define a pipeline. It's frozen. Come on. Ooh. So here, we create a pipeline. And this one we particularly wanted for images, for example, right? And then each pipeline can get infinite number of steps. Each step is basically one operation, one particular action that you apply on top of the data. And okay, it's frozen again. Slow. So we say basically, hey, go analyze this image, extract the color, subjects, resolution, blah, blah. The same principle that we define with generative JSON there, we do here. We say, okay, colors is an array of the law, subjects are this, resolution is this. And then you say, okay, when you are done, make an output, pass it around to the next step. And at the end of the day, each of these steps output will be stored back into the database using the generative feedback loop mechanism. And that way you are already enhancing your database to become a more knowledge base. Again, is a more like a metaphor. So it becomes a more enriched contextual thing. So you don't have to. And then, of course, so here I can also build in relations if I want, if I want to have particular built-in or hard-coded relations. Otherwise, I can do it on fly too. Yeah, the next step is to add function calling. It's on our roadmap for April, and that's where the sky is our limit. Because by function calling, then you can easily then just build any agent. There's no, yeah. Any question? Yes.
So actually, first of all, it is really good, although we might not understand. But the thing is,
oh no,
might not understand.
I did a poor job.
Product is like
oh man,
behind the scenes.
I'm not gonna go back to the Netherlands.
My question is like you are using entities and intent to identify this, and entities you are like whatever the place name or something, that is the entity.
That's one of the modules, yes.
Right? And you are using a kind of a graph RAG to identify those relationships and finding out the results.
Yeah.
And your knowledge base, which is your, I think, key.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yes.
So someone like most of the things are or Azure also giving it, like Azure Fabric is giving all the data, you can put it, and we can do the same things, similar almost, because Azure OpenAI services also identifying entity, and they do hybrid search or vector search or similarity search as well. Though it is open source, that is what we are saying, and that is paid one, closed source.
Yes.
Right. So like, and you said like it is very easy for developers, like 5 lines of code, and that's done.
Well, it depends on how deep you want to get, right? It depending on how much features you want to have. Our focus has been on developer experience and optimizing and fine-tuning this for developers who are coming from product development background, not machine learning background. So yes, it's easier for JavaScript developers, for React developers, Android developers, for those type of people. It's easier, yes.
In behind the scene, like what LLMs and other things, because you are
that's your choice. We have
using the reasoning model. That is where you are showing that.
Yeah, that's your choice. So when it comes to models, we have transformers that are open source and we self-host them, right? These are for only vectorization. Or you can go with OpenAI models, for example, when they have text embedding, etc. Yeah, and when it comes to basically, and in our open source one that you can also hook it up with open source models that you're running locally. But then, for example, for generative part, then again, you have all the lists here. Although, yeah, OpenAI is cool, but yeah, Mistral I suggested as well for if you have very resource intensive. So there are many things that you can do it, but behind the scene we also have LLM routing that basically is based on the needs that you can switch on fly. That you say, okay, for this request use that, for that, and so.
Why? Don't get me wrong, I'm all for it, but why open source?
Because why not open source? Philosophical. I'm gonna answer you very generic. I'm gonna give you a very I'm gonna give you a long-term vision. In a couple of years, the way how we are moving on, we are talking about personalization and hyper-personalization. So you and me are not gonna have our data on a cloud somewhere. We want the software to be to be second us, right? So personalized. And doing that, everything has to go and become eventually on local, on device. And doing that, we need to become open source. There is no other way. The SaaS model that we have for our cloud, 2-3 years from on, is going to die. You are not going to trust cloud with your personal data because you want the AI to become so you that there are a lot of other dangerous things as well. You don't want to go on cloud. So that's why open source in long term, but shorter term, I think we are creating a movement of AI native development, and we need the help of every single basically community member that we have, and the tool needs to be built by community from ground up. You are a developer. You are not going to trust me if I send you thousands of cold email or advertisements, hey, go use Unbody. But if the guy next to you says, hey, I used Unbody, I built something, go try it, you do it right away, right? No, none of us care about Google advertise. We always scroll down, right? We know, like, this is not how you can sell to developers. So you have to become open source.
That makes sense.
No worries.
I think the best part was the visual content enhancements, right?
Yes.
It's at least for me, I'm trying to figure out like how you did that. Is it like through function calling internally or something, or how are you making it so that it creates the titles on its own and all the
so it already pre-computate things for me, and so I also have one demo for images, but never mind. I'm not going to keep you waiting. Later on, I can show it to you. But so it's pre-computate. The AutoVision is pre-built in component that we have that goes and extract the information that it knows it's good and it's important enough, right? Not very highly customized. And usually that answers a lot of questions. But if you want to make it hyper-personalized, then behind the scene we use like models. For example, GPT-4o is good for image processing. But for example, if you want to apply only OCR, we have a different technology for it. You know, you don't need a LLM for that, of course. So again, this is like, it all depends on your data. And you as a developer needs to understand which one is the best for you. Yes.
I support local inference, like Solana.
Yeah, with open source, definitely. It's on our roadmap, for sure.
When can we?
25th. Today is 20th? 21st? Okay, in 4 days. All right. Take care.